Good day. Today we're going to have a discussion of congruences in number theory. So this is the continuation of what we had in the other week. So to start, congruences can be coiled back to the famous mathematician Carl Friedrich Gauss, also known as the Prince of Mathematics, as he presented the theory of congruences, which is a beautiful arm of divisibility theory in his outstanding work, Disquisitiones Arithmeticae, which is published in 1801 when he was young, uh, which is 24 years old. So Gauss is believed to have submitted the major portion of the book to the French Academy for publication, but they rejected it. It is really astonishing, writes the German mathematician Leopold Konecker, to think that a single man of such young years was able to bring to light such a wealth of result and above all to present such profound and well organized treatment of an entirely new discipline. So the congruence relation, as we will see shortly, shares many interesting properties with the uh, equality equality relation. So it is no accident that the congruent symbol invented by Gauss around 1800 parallels the equality symbol. The congruent symbol facilitates the study of divisibility theory and has many fascinating applications. Okay, so we start with the congruences with the concept of congruence modulo M. So we have here, let m be a positive integer, then an integer a is congruent to integer b modulo m if m divides a minus b. So you have there in symbol, we write this one. Okay, so that is read as a congruent to b modulo m. Okay, so m is the modulus of the congruence relation. So it's not congruent. If A is not congruent to B modulo M, then A is incongruent to B modulo M. And we have this notation. Okay. So, in other words, when we are talking about congruences, okay, it means to say that uh, they are congruent if you have there uh, M divides A minus B. So, in other words, let's say, for example, to illustrate that one, we could have uh, we can write 23 is congruent to 3 mode 5. It's because uh, 5 divides 23 minus 3. Okay, so that's it. Another, let's say you have 48 is congruent to 12 mode 6. It's because you have uh, 6 divides 48 minus 12. Okay. So that's how we are going to illustrate the modulo. So uh, we could also say um, 28 is congruent to negative 4 mode 16. Okay. However, if they are not congruent, then we have this illustration. You have uh, 20, 20 is not okay congruent to 3 mode M. Mode 4 rather. It's because uh 4 okay does not divides uh 20 minus 3. Okay. So that's how we are going to illustrate the concept of congruences. Okay, so we have here theorem. So you have A congruent to B mode M if and only if A is equal to B plus KM for some integer K. So um, it is a good or a useful observation, okay, as it follows to this definition, okay, that uh, A is congruent to zero mode M if and only if A divides, rather, M divides A. Okay, so again, you have A is congruent to zero mode M if and only if M divides A. That is, an integer is congruent to zero if and only if it is divisible by M. So, for example, we could have 28 is congruent to 0 mode M because 28 divides 4 divides 28. Okay. So um, you have A, we could also have A is congruent to 0 mode M, okay, and M divides A mean exactly the same thing. Okay. So with this theorem, you could have the properties. So you have A is congruent to A mode M because that's reflexive property. So if A is congruent to B mode M, then B also is congruent to A mode M. So that's symmetric property. And if A congruent to B mode M and B congruent to C mode M, then A is congruent to C mode M. So that's a transitive property. Okay. We do also have this one. Okay. So for our uh, theorem, A is congruent to B mode M if and only if A and B leaves the same remainder when divided by M. Okay. So with that, we could have the corollary. Okay, the integer R is the remainder when A is divided by M if and only if A is congruent to R mode M, where R is greater than or equal to 0 but less than M. Another corollary, we have every integer is congruent to exactly one of the least residues 0, 1, 2, and so on up to M minus 1, modulo M. Okay, so let's have, okay, an example. So prove that no prime of the form 4n plus 3 can be expressed as the sum of two squares. So to have this one, we can show the proof by contradiction. Okay. So for our proof, so we could let, let's say n be a prime number. Okay. A prime number. Okay. And then um, this a prime number is in the form of um, 4n plus 3. So, in other words, we can have n, okay, is congruent to 3 mode 4. Okay. So, take note that according to the problem that we need to have or to analyze, that it is sum of two squares. So since we have to prove by contradiction, we will assume that the n, okay, the the n is in the form of sum of two squares. So we could have n is equal to a squared plus b squared. Now, um, since n is odd because you have 4n plus 3, so technically that's always odd. So one of the squares, say a squared, must be odd, okay, and the b squared must be even. So since a must be odd and b is even, okay, you could have a is equal to uh, 2a plus 1, and our b would be equal to 2b. Okay, so with that, you have n is equal to 2a plus 1, okay, squared plus 2b quantity squared. With that, we could simplify, okay, we can simplify the given equation, okay. So you have 4 times the quantity of a squared plus b squared plus a, okay, plus 1, which is, this one can be expressed as um, n congruent to 1 mode 4, okay, which contradicts to the uh, what you call this, the equation, which is uh, n is congruent to 3 mode 4. So with that, we have shown that since uh, the last portion, okay, contradicts to the first portion, which is n is congruent to 3 mode 4, okay, then we could now say that the uh, there is no prime number in the form of 4n plus 3, which can be expressed as the sum of two squares. Okay, now let's have the complete set of residues modulo m. So a set of m integers is a complete set of residues modulo m if every integer is congruent modulo m to exactly one of them. Thus, the set of integers a sub 1 to a sub m is a complete set of residues modulo m if they are congruent modulo m to least residues 0 up to m minus 1 in some orders. So um in for instance, let's say you have a set of, okay, let's say you have the set of, you have negative 12, you have 9, 6, and 23. Okay, so this is a complete set of residues modulo 4 since uh, negative 12, okay, is congruent to 0 mode 4. And then you have 9 is congruent to 1 mode 4. And then 6 is also congruent to 2 mode 4. And you have 23 is congruent to 3 mode 4. Okay, so that's how we are going to have the illustration. Okay, so let's have the complete set of another in continuation. Okay, so you have the theory. Let A congruent to B mode M and C congruent to D mode M. Then you have the first one. Uh, A plus B is congruent to B plus D mode M. And the second is AC is congruent to BD mode M. Okay. So with this kind of uh, theory, we can illustrate this one as uh, let's say you have 17 is congruent to negative 4 uh, mode 3. And let's say you have 28 is congruent to 7 mode 3. Okay. So with this kind of theorem, we could have 17 plus 28 is congruent to negative 4 plus 7 mode 3. And um, with this, we could have you have 45 congruent to 3 mode 3. Okay. And also, we could have 17 times 28 is congruent to negative 4 times 7 mode 3. Okay. Which is 17 times 28 is equal to, you have uh, 476, which is congruent to negative 28 mode 3. Another example. Okay. So find the remainder when 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus so on plus 100 factorial is divided by 15. Okay. So with this, uh, for our solution, first, we need to understand the pattern of factorials modulo 15. Okay. So let's try to look for the pattern. So for example, for the first pattern, you have uh, 1 factorial is congruent to 1 mode 15. Okay. And then if you are going to have 2 factorial, okay, this is actually congruent to uh, 2 mode 15. And then you have 3 factorial is congruent to, so you have um, 6, okay, 6 mode 15. And then you have 4 factorial. So when you have 4 factorial times 4, that would be um 9. Okay, 9 mode 15. And then definitely 5 factorial is congruent to 0 mode 15. Okay. Then if we continue, you have 6 factorial, it becomes uh, 0 mode 15 because all the factorials would be uh, since uh, uh, 6 factorials, 7 factorials, and so on, okay, they are divisible by 15. Okay, so since they are multiples of 3 and 5, then the uh, 5 factorials and so on would be 0 mode 15. So we only need to consider the sum of the 4 factorials, which is 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, and 4 factorial. So you have With this, you have 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus 4 factorial. These are all congruent to 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 9 mode 15. Okay. So if we're going to add them, so um you have 18 mode 15. Okay. So uh since we have now the sum, okay, is congruent to 18 mode 15, we can now transform 18, okay, as mode of 15. So you have 18 is congruent to, okay, a number mode 15. So what is that number? So you have 3. Therefore, we could now say that the sum, okay, 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus so on plus 100 factorial, okay, has a remainder of, okay, remainder of 3 when divided by 15. Okay, so that's it. So we only need to consider the first 4 factorial because the rest of the factorial, 6 and 5 factorial and up, they have 0. Uh, they are congruent to 0 mode 15. Okay, so let's have another example. So find the positive integers and for which the summation of k factorial from 1 to n is a square. So with this, we have to consider, okay, the approach of finding the the pattern, diba? So for our solution, we have the sum of the factorials. So since you have the sum, let's say uh, the the sum of 1 is equal to 1 factorial. And then you have the sum of 2 is equal to 1 factorial plus 2 factorial. Okay, which is equal to 3. Okay. And then the sum of 3 is equal to 1 factorial, uh, 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus 3 factorial, which is equal to, you have 9. Okay. And then you have the sum of 4, okay, is equal to um 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 24, which is equal to 33. Okay. And then the sum of 5 is equal to, of course, you have um, 1 plus 2 plus 6 um, plus 24 plus 120, which is equal to 150. 53. So we can observe that the uh, the sum of 3, which is equal to 9, is a perfect square. Okay. And then we can now consider the general case. So for the general case, uh, you can have n greater than or equal to 4. Okay. Then you have the sum of n is equal to, you have sum of n minus 1 plus n factorial. Okay. So we can prove that for n greater than or equal to 4, n factorial is greater than the sum of uh, n minus 1. Okay. So for example, if you have n is equal to 4, then you have 4 factorial, which is 24. Okay. And then that is greater than the sum of you have 3. Okay. Remember that 3 is equal to 9. So 24 is greater than 9. Okay. So this inequality will only get stronger. Means uh, if you have um, n greater than or equal to 4, the n factorial is um, the sum of n is greater than the n factorial but less than the n plus 1 factorial. Okay. So it means that the sum of n is greater than n factorial but less than uh, n plus 1 factorial. So we are going to consider the square root, okay, of the sum for n greater than or equal to 4. So meaning if we are going to square this one, so you have the square root of the sum of n is greater than the square root of n factorial, which is also less than the square root of n plus 1 factorial. So the distance between the the distance between the consecutive square, the square roots rather, of the factorial increases as n increases. So for large n, this distance becomes greater than 1, di ba? Okay. So since the square root of uh, s, the sum of n, okay, must be an integer for uh, the um, the sum of n to be a square. So in this case, it's a trap, okay, between two values that are more than one apart for the large n. So it becomes impossible for the sum of n to be a square for a large n. Okay. So with that, we can now check the values for the sum of n for small number of n. So you could have the what do you call this one? The sum of 1 is equal to 1, which is 2 squared, 1 squared rather. Okay. And then the sum of 2, okay, is equal to 3, but di ba, 3 is not a perfect square. And then the sum of 3 is equal to 9, which is a perfect square. And then the sum of 4 is equal to uh, 33, which is not a square. And then the sum of 5 is 155, 153 rather, but not a perfect square. So we can now prove that the sum of n is not a square for n greater than or equal to 4. Okay. So for n is equal to 4, that is 5 square, but that is um, less than take note that if n is equal to 4, okay, so you have the sum is 33. But 33 is greater than 25 because, di ba, you have 25 squared. Okay, 25, 5 square rather. And then this is also uh, less than 36 because 6 square is equal to 36. So for n is greater than or equal to 5, let's say um, 5, 5 factorial, which is equal to 120. So if it were a square, it would be at least 11 squared. But the sum of 5 is less than 11 squared. Therefore, the only positive integer n for which the uh, the what to call this one, the sum of n is a square are 1 and 3. So that's how we are going to have the solution. So okay, therefore n must be equal to 1 and 3. Okay. Corollary. Okay. So if A is congruent to B mode M and C is congruent to D mode M, then A minus C is congruent to D minus D mode M. And then we have another corollary. If A is congruent to B mode M and C is any integer, then A plus C is congruent to B plus C mode M. A minus C is congruent to B minus C mode M. AC is congruent to BC mode M, and A squared is congruent to B squared mode M. Okay. We can have the theorem, okay, that follows with this um, corollary. So you have, if A is congruent to B mode M, then A raised to M, A raised to N rather, is congruent to B raised to N mode M for any positive integer n. Okay. And then if AC is congruent to BC mode M, then the C and M are relatively prime. Okay. Then um, A congruent to B is A is congruent to B mode M. And if AC is congruent to BC mode M and CM, the GCD of CM is equal to D, then uh, A congruent to B mode M divided by D. Another, if A congruent to B mode M sub 1, and then A is congruent to B M sub mode M sub 2, and so on up to A congruent to B mode M sub mode M sub K, then A is congruent to B mode the products of M sub 1 up to M sub K. So with that, we could have the corollary. If A is congruent to B mode M and A is congruent to B mode M sub 2 up to A congruent to B mode M sub K, where the moduli is pairwise relatively prime, then A is congruent to B mode the product of M sub 1 to M sub K. Okay, so we have linear congruences. So in previous discussion, no, okay, we have discussed uh, the language of congruences and some fundamental properties of congruences. Now, um, we have to look at congruences containing variables such as, let's say, 3x congruent to 4 mode 5, or x squared is congruent to 1 mode 8, and x squared plus 2 congruent to 3x mode 5. Okay, so the simplest such congruences or congruence is the linear congruence, which is the AX is congruent to B mode M. Okay, so for the theory, okay, so you have there the linear congruence AX congruent to B mode M is solvable if and only if uh, D D divides B, where D is the GCD of A and M. If D divides B, then it has D incongruent solutions. So the general solution for the linear congruence X is equal to X sub 0 plus you have the M divided by D, where D is greater than or equal to 0 but less than D. Okay, so for the congruence, for the corollary, you have the linear congruence AX congruent to B mode M has a unique solution if and only if uh, the GCD of A and M is 1. So they are relatively prime. Okay. So let's have an example. Determine if the congruences 8x congruent to 10 mode 6, 6 2x congruent to 3 mode 4, and 4x congruent to 7 mode 5 are solvable. If the number of find the number of incongruent solutions when the congruence is solvable. Okay. So for in this case, for the first one, you have 8x is congruent to 10 mode 6. Now, take note that um, uh, the GCD of 8 and 6 is equal to 2, and uh, 2 divides 10. Therefore, okay, we could now see that 8x congruent to 10 mode 6 is solvable, and it has two incongruent solution modulo 6. Okay. Now, for the second one, you have um, the GCD of 2 and 4, which is equal to 2. However, 2 does not divide 3. So, the congruence, 2x congruent to 3 mod 4 has no solution. Okay. And then for the third one, you have 4, the GCD of 4 and 7, which are relatively prime with one another, so which is equal to 1. So, take note that since they are relatively prime from the previous slide that we had, okay, it means to say that uh, 4x, uh, 4x congruent to 7 mode 5 has a unique solution modulo 5. Okay, another example. Okay, solve the congruence 12x congruent to 48 mode 18. Okay, so as we can see, okay, we can have the GCD of 12 and 18. So the GCD of 12 and 18 is equal to 6. And we can see that 6 divides 48. So we can simplify the left side of the congruence by dividing both sides by 6. So if we are going to divide both sides by 6, then you have for our solution, okay, you have what do you call this? 2x is congruent to uh, 8 mode 3. We can solve this one, okay, using the concept of inverse, multiplicative inverse modulo. However, since we haven't yet discussed the concept of uh, inverse modulo, let's try to have another way of solving this one. Okay, so let's try to erase. Now, take note that uh, the GCD of uh, 12 and 18 is equal to 6. So it means to say, um, not 6, 12 and 18, which is equal to 6. And 6 divides 48. So it means to say that there are 6 incongruent solutions modulo 6. So from the previous slides that we had, our general solution for that, for the value of x, is equal to the x sub 0, which is plus m divided by d. Okay, t. Okay. So take note that our m here is equal to 18 and our d here is equal to 6. So in other words, okay, we can have the value of x as x sub 0 is equal to 18 divided by 6, because 6 is uh, the GCD of 12 and 18. So that's equal to 3t. Okay. So the x sub 0 here is a particular solution, and our t must be greater than and equal to 0 but less than 6. Okay. Now, in this case, we could have trial and error. So for the trial error, let's say our uh, x sub 0 is equal to 1. Okay. So if x sub 0 is equal to 1, it has a solution. So, okay, at x, okay, sub 0 is equal to 1, okay, you could have a solution. There is the solution. Okay. Okay. So by uh by the trial and error, okay, there you can find the what we call this one, uh the value. Okay. Take note that you have from 0, the t should be greater than equal to 0 but less than 6. Okay. So you can now substitute, okay, okay, to the equation that we have, which is uh what we call this one, x sub 0 is equal plus 3t. So if we are going to substitute the values of t, which is 0. So we have, if we are going to substitute our t, take note that t must be greater than equal to 0 but less than 6. So our values of t would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if we are going to substitute that one to the given equation, then the values of x here, okay, would be equal to you have uh, 1, then you have 4, 7, uh, 10, 13, and 16. Now, in this solution, we have just only to what we call this, a trial and error. Okay, in which we could say here that x sub 0 is equal to 1 by trial and error. However, there is another way of solving that kind of problem. Okay, not by trial and error, but that will come, okay, after the concept of in a multiplicative inverse modulo. Okay, so let's have another example using the congruence to solve the Mahavira's puzzle. Okay, the one that we have discussed previously. So take note, okay, we have an equation 63x minus 23y is equal to negative 7. So this is from our example, okay, previously. Okay. So the this linear Diophantine equation creates two linear congruences. So what are those congruences? So you have the first congruences, you have 63x is congruent to negative 7 mode 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 23, and then you have negative 23y is congruent to negative 7 mode 63. Okay. So the first one, okay, the uh the first you have 63x, okay, congruent to negative 7 mode 13. Okay. You have what we call this one. Now, the 63x congruent to negative 7 mode 23 can be reduced. Okay. So we can reduce that one. Now, take note that what do you call this one? Na in previous slide, uh we can subtract or add any multiple of modulus. So in this case, you have 23 no to either side of the equation without changing the truth value. So you have for this case, you have 63 is congruent to a number mode 23. Okay. So in this case, uh, what would be the remainder if we are going to uh, what you call this one? Divide 63, okay, by uh, by let's say 23. So you have 17. Then using this process, we can now rewrite the original, okay, into the original equation from 63x congruent to negative 7 mode 23. We can have 17, okay, 17x congruent to negative 7 mode 23. And then again, as we can see here, we can uh, reduce again. Okay, so we subtract, okay, 23 from 17. So you have what you call this one? 6, negative 6 rather. Okay. So uh 17x, okay, is congruent to negative 6x mode 23. So by uh substituting this back to our equation, you have negative 6x is congruent to negative 7 mode 23. Okay. Now, with this, we can now um, multiply both sides by 4. Okay. So, since we can rewrite this one as 6x uh, congruent to 7 mode 23. Okay. So, as we can see here, the 6 and 23 are relatively prime. So we can multiply both sides by 4. So if you have to multiply what do you call this one? 6x by 4. Okay. And then this one, the 7 multiplied by 4, you could have, okay, x, the value of x, okay, which is congruent to 5 mode 23. So the general solution for the congruence of 63x congruent to negative 7 mode 23 would be you have x is equal to 5 plus 23t. So we can now substitute our x in our linear Diophantine equation to solve for y. So go back to our equation, okay, here. So you could have 63 times 5 plus 23t, okay, minus 23y minus is equal to negative 7, which is equal to 63 times 5 is 315 plus 63 times 23 is equal to um 1449 t minus 23y, okay, which is equal to negative 7. So using what we call this one, the we can now solve for y. So for in this case, uh you have uh for y, you have negative 7 minus 315 uh minus negative 1449 t divided all over negative 23. So we can now simplify. So you have um, y is equal to 14 plus 63t. So the general solution for the linear Diophantine equation is x is equal to 5 plus 23t and y is equal to 14 plus 63, where t is an arbitrary integer. Okay, so here we have the modular inverses. So consider the special case where b is equal to 1 in the corollary, in which the linear congruence uh, ax is congruent to b mode m has a unique solution if and only if uh, the a and m are relatively prime. Okay, so the linear congruence ax is congruent to 1 mode m has a unique solution if and only if uh, the a and m are relatively prime. In other words, um, uh, you have unique, okay, at least residue x such that ax is congruent to 1 mode m. Then a is said to be invertible and x is called the inverse of a modulo m, denoted by you have there a raised to negative 1. Okay, so a raised to negative 1 is congruent to 1 modulo m. Um, I it means to say if a raised to negative 1 is equal to a, then it is a self-invertible. Okay. So, uh, what does it implies? So, for example, you have uh, you have uh, 7 times 8 congruent to 1 mode 11. So, in other words, 7 is invertible and a is 8 rather is an inverse of 7 modulo 11. So in other words, the inverse of 7 is 8 modulo 11. because if we are going to multiply 7 and 8, okay, it is congruent to 1 mode 11. Okay, so 10 is uh, its own inverse modulo 11, since 10 times 10, okay, that is congruent to 1 mode 11. So in other words, we have to look for a number that the remainder is 1. Okay. So you have here theorem. The unique solution of the linear congruence AX congruent to B mode M, where A and M are relatively prime, is at least residue of the inverse of A times B mode M. Okay, so let's move to uh, Chinese remainder theorem. So the uh, systems of linear congruences in a single variable were known in ancient China, in Greece, and in India. Okay, originally, they were used by astronomers for calendar making. So, um, Chinese remainder theorem is coiled, okay, with the Chinese because of the puzzle. So, for example, you have the Chinese mathematician Sun Tzu. Okay, and the master Sun's mathematical manual. Okay, so we have this problem. Okay, from that manual. Okay, so this is actually Sun Tzu's problem. No, so find a number that leaves a remainder 1 when divided by 3, a remainder of 2 when divided by 5, and a remainder of 3 when divided by 7. Okay. So, in this case, using the congruence language, okay, the riddle is to find an integer x, okay, integer x, such that x is congruent to 1 mode 3, and then that x is also congruent to 2 mode 5, and the x is congruent to 3 mode 7. Okay. So the Chinese remainder theorem can be defined as this one. So you have, let m sub 1, m sub 2 up to m sub r be a pairwise relatively prime positive integers. Then the system of congruence, so you have x congruent to a sub 1 mode m sub 1, x is congruent to a sub 2 mode m sub 2 up to x congruent to a sub r mode m sub r, has a unique solution modulo m is equal to m sub 1, the product of m sub 1 up to m sub r, and x is congruent to uh, a sub 1, m sub 1, and the inverse of m sub 1 plus a sub 2, m sub 2, and uh, the inverse of m sub 2 up to a sub r, m sub r, and the inverse of m sub r mode m. Okay. For example, we have this one. Okay. Solve the system. X is congruent to 1 mode 3, x is congruent to 2 mode 5, and x congruent to 3 mode 7. Okay. So we'll go step by step process of the Chinese remainder theorem. So uh, let's first calculate the product of all moduli. So for in this case, the product of the moduli, which is equal to 3 times 5 times 7 is equal to 105. Now, we calculate the m sub I, okay, for uh, each equation. So you have the m sub 1 is equal to m divided by 3, okay, which is equal to uh, 35. You have 105 divided by 3. Then the m sub 2 is you have m divided by 5, which is equal to 21. 105 divided by 5. And then the m sub 3 is equal to um, m divided by 7, which is equal to 15. Next, we need to find the modular multiplicative inverse of m sub I, modulo, okay, its corresponding modulus. So you have um, what would be the number, okay, what would be the number that you have to multiply by 35 that the remainder is 1 for the mode of 3. So that's the concept. Okay. So again, we have to look for the number, okay, that we have to multiply uh, to 35, that the remainder is 1 mode 3. Okay. So in other words, the inverse of 35, okay, the inverse of 35 is equal to, or the congruent to 2 mode 3. Okay, so if you are going to multiply 35, okay, by 2, okay, and then mode 3, the remainder is 1. Okay. With this, we have the 21, the inverse of 21, okay, is technically mode 5, because we have 5. Okay, mode 5. Okay, so with this, it is equal to 1 because 21. Okay, mode 5. Okay, and then the inverse of 15, okay, for mode 7, then you have um, 1 mode 5. So we can now transform the solution. Okay, so our x, okay, 2 and 1. Okay, so for the value of x, that is equal, congruent to uh, a sub 1 times the m sub 1 and the inverse of m sub 1, okay, plus uh, a sub 2, m sub 2, and then the inverse of m sub 2, okay, uh, plus, okay, plus uh, a sub 3, m sub 3, and the inverse of m sub 3 mode m. So in other words, by substituting, you have our a sub 1 is 1. So times 35 times the inverse of 35 uh, mode 3 is you have uh, 2 plus uh, our a sub 2 is 2, okay, times 21 times 1 plus our a sub 3 is 3 times 15 times 1 mode 105. So congruent. So this is now congruent to you have um 70 plus you have 42 plus 45 mode 105, which is uh, congruent to 157 mode 105. Okay. Now, take note that 157 can be reduced. Okay. So x congruent to 157 mode 105. We can reduce that one as kung the x is congruent to 52 rather. 52 mode 5. Okay. So this means that uh, x is equal to 52 plus 105k, where k is any integer. So you could have that answer. So our general solution would be x is equal to 52 plus 105k. Okay. So another example. So you have here a professor feeds his pet python every 4 days and base it once a week. So this week he fed it on Tuesday and bay on Wednesday. When, if ever, will he fed and wash the python on the same time? Okay. For this, okay, we have the solution. For the solution, let us denote this Tuesday when the python has fed as day one. Then, since the python is fed every 4 days, he will eat on day one, and then day five, and then day nine, okay, and so on. Or when the day number, okay, let's say X, okay, for the X, it satisfies that it is congruent to 1 mode 4. Okay. Also, since the python is bathed, okay, or bathed, okay, on Wednesday, okay, which is day 2, and he bathed on every 7 days, he will have the bath on day X if the X is congruent to 2 mode 7. Then we have now the equation. Okay. So according to the Chinese remainder theorem, okay, as we can see, the GCD of uh, 4 and 7 is 1. So there is a unique solution for this system of congruences. Modulo 28, because you have 4 times 7. So 4 times 7 is equal to 28. So in order to find the solution, we can use the formula for the uh, what you call this one, Chinese remainder. Okay, so you have the x, okay, is congruent to 1. Okay, and then this is x, okay, is equal. This is not congruent. So x is equal to 1 uh, times, you have 7 x sub 1 plus 2 times 4 x sub 2, which is equal to 7x sub 1 plus 8x sub 2, where our x sub 1 and x sub 2 are what we call this one, that uh, chosen, so that the 7 x sub 1 is congruent to 1 mode 4, and our x 4 times x sub 2 is congruent to 1 mode 7. So we have to look for the inverse of 7, okay, mode 4, and then an inverse of 4 mode 7. So with that, we can look for the inverse as inverse of the inverse of uh, 7 is 7 mode 4 is 3, and then the inverse of what do you call this one, the inverse of 4 mode 7 is 2. So you could have uh 7 times 3 plus 8 times 2, okay, which is equal to 37. So 37 is a solution to the system of congruences. So the solution is unique modulo 28. So if x, okay, if x is congruent to 37 mode 28, then the snake will eat and bay on the x, on the day x. So since the least residue of 37 modulo 28 is 9, diba? It's 9. So the first day the snake will bay and eat is the ninth day. Okay. And if x congruent to 9 mode 28, the the python will eat and bay on that day. Okay. So in other words, our x would be uh the x would be congruent. So our final answer would be x is congruent to 9 mode 28. Okay, that's our final answer. Okay, we have also what call this one, things to remember. Okay, for the Chinese remainder theorem. So if a and b are positive integers, then the least positive residue of 2 raised to a minus 1 modulo 2 raised to b minus 1 is 2 raised to r, okay, minus 1, where r is the least positive residue of a modulo b. So another lemma, if a and b are positive integers, then 2 raised to a minus 1, the GCD of 2 raised to a minus 1 and 2 raised to b minus 1 is equal to 2 raised to the GCD of 1, raised to the GCD of AB, okay, minus 1. So the positive integers 2 raised to A minus 1 and 2 raised to B minus 1 are relatively prime if and only if A and B are relatively prime. Okay, so that concludes our discussion pertaining to congruence. Thank you very much.